My name is Theresa Baisinger. I'm a fused glass artist. I live up in Bonnie Doon, and I've been participating in open studios for about 12 years. The type of work I do is fused and slumped work, which means that when I'm working with the glass, it's always cold. And I do my design and my decorative elements. I sometimes make the color of the glass using a combination of glass powders and sheet glass, and then I load it into the kiln for the first firing. The first firing, I just make the glass. I bring that piece of work up to about 1500 degrees in a 12 or 14 hour process, very slowly controlling the temperature as it's going up and coming back down again, so that it all melts and comes together and becomes a really solid, unified piece. And when that comes out of the kiln, I look at it. Sometimes I want to do designs in relief where I'll add another layer of design element and put it back in the kiln and take it up to a slightly cooler temperature, just cool enough that it stays on the glass, but not so hot that it melts all the way into the glass. And when I'm finally happy with it, and I have a finished piece of glass that I like, I set it over a mold and bring that kiln back up to somewhere between 1200 and 1300 degrees. At 1200 degrees, glass becomes soft and it will fall. And so it falls down and takes on the shape of the mold that you've put it in, or I can suspend it up on bricks and it'll fall down around the middle of it. And that's how I create the flowing and organic shapes that I make. I love all kinds of art, but I'm particularly drawn to functional art. Things that you use every day and that are fabulous. You know, when I was coming up with this series of lights, I actually wanted to replace something in my house with something that was more contemporary. And I spent a couple of weeks thinking about the quality of light that I wanted. For years I made Tiffany-styled lamps in this traditional stained glass techniques, and those are beautiful pieces, and they're gorgeous lit from within. I think, like most artists, I'm attracted to nature and the colors and the patterns and the texture of nature. And so after thinking about it for a few weeks, I realized the best light that you're ever in is the light that comes from a fireplace. It has that beautiful glow and it makes you feel good. It's warm and it's inviting. It's kind of everything that you love about home. In these lights, I tried to create the activity of the fire as well as the fire, so that there are some places that are really gold, and then there's some places that are red, and there's all this stuff going on when you're watching a fire, I made some skinny little pieces and went over to the torch, and using a torch, pulled them out, and so they were wiggly lines or straight lines or thinner lines, and then I could use those as a design element. And then the last thing I did with the lighting was trying to make sure that the light was diffused and was a comfortable light, that the light bulb wasn't going to come out and shine brightly at you. And I did that with some iridescent glasses that make the light bounce. And then I also put some gold leaf in places that I thought might be just a little too intense. Well, I love the conversation of what I see as the masculine and the feminine, of this brittle and this hard material and the translucency of it. In the 80s, when we moved up to Bonnie Doon, everybody was building their own homes, and so I did a lot of cabinet doors and windows on the sides of the front doors and around the kids, because I was really pretty focused on being a full-time mother. And it was actually my son coming home from college one day that said, you really should stop working with lead. It's really dangerous. And he was my risk taker. So once your risk taker says, I'm not so comfortable with you doing this, it's good to stop and think about what you're doing. And and then after the Tiffany lamps, I was trying to decide what to do next. And Joshua said, well, why don't you just... That's so old school, why don't you just put this stuff in a kiln and melt it? He offered to take all of his dad's things out of the tool shed and knock the wall out and turn it into a studio for me. And so that's really how I started doing this. I have a couple of nice glass kilns. My kilns are 24 by 24, and I like to take up the whole space. And I found that I can put in other shelves, I can work on 2 pieces at once, but only one piece turns out perfectly. And I just decided to only do 1 piece at a time. So, it takes me longer, I go a little slower, but I'm more likely to get what I want.